Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking about the Doctor Who episode Listen. And overall, I liked quite a lot about this episode. There are just a few elements of it that didn't really work for me. So let's start with some of the good stuff. First of all, we finally get to see the full version of that bit with the Doctor sitting on top of the TARDIS and going, "Listen." That's kind of been floating around out on the net for a little while. The folks over at the Doctor Puppet YouTube channel even did a bit of a riff on it. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, seriously check it out because Doctor Puppet is hilarious. Um, so yeah, this episode we get to see Peter Capaldi do one of those really great Doctor speeches where the Doctor just kind of blathers on about something that sounds really weird, but he sells it in such a way that you buy into it. You know, it's really the Doctor sort of extolling the creepy side of the universe. And the thing I really like best about this episode is that we never really find out for sure if the Doctor was right. You know, is this theory that there's always something standing just a step behind us real? Or is it just sort of our imaginations getting the better of us? You know, was it really something in Danny's room when he was a kid, or was it just another kid playing a trick on him? We never find out. And the reason that this is a great thing is, well, basically, put it this way: it's been said by many people who do horror movies and stuff like that that one thing you have to be careful about doing is you don't always want to show people the monster, because whenever you show the people the monster, the reaction is always going to be, especially if it's you don't really see the monster for most of the movie and then you show them what it looks like at the end, people's reaction is almost always, "Oh, well, that wasn't as scary as what I thought it would be." And you see, that's the thing. People's imaginations, if you let them and guide them properly, will do most of the work for you. So the thing that you never really see, or the thing you only get the most basic glimpse of, is often much more terrifying than anything that some Hollywood special effects person could come up with. And this episode really plays on that idea well. For example, and Doctor Who has done this before, the Great Vampire from the Tom Baker run. That was a creature that we heard a lot about, but we only ever saw its hand. But that was enough to make the thing seem really, really creepy. And because of that, the Great Vampire has remained a bit of a favorite among old school Doctor Who Doctor Who's fans who really like the monsters more than the various alien races. So that was really well pulled off. I mean, the atmosphere in this episode is really, really tense and creepy and very cool, and I love that. I also love that we got to see the Doctor bust out the psychic paper and steal the groundskeeper's coffee. It's always funny when you sort of remember that the Doctor is not above petty thievery. But anyway, so this is also the episode where they really kind of bring Danny Pink out there into focus, and where we really start to get to know him as a character. And that's all well and good. I really am interested in Danny as a character. He does seem like he has serious potential as a companion, and I want to see what they're going to do with him. But this episode's problem is that when it comes to his relationship with Clara and the whole stuff with Orson, we'll get to Orson in a minute. Let's focus on that. The whole thing with his relationship with Clara, it just feels like they're trying to do too much too fast. The first episode, we have the 12th Doctor saying to Clara, "I'm not your boyfriend, but that wasn't your mistake." So, okay, right there, they're kind of drawing a line on is this Doctor going to have a romance with Clara? And saying no. And they're basically saying, like, okay, Clara's kind of feelings for the 11th Doctor, those are kind of gone for all intents and purposes. Okay, she's moved on, like it or not. But here, there basically feels like, okay, they're saying, okay, Clara's feelings for the Doctor, here's a new guy. And again, it's just too much too fast. I mean, if I'm reading the timeline of what's going on with Clara's life, she's really only known Danny for a very, very little while. And they're kissing by the end of the first date. Now, okay, this seems to have been, with some hiccups, a pretty darn good date. And well, if you're kissing at the end of a first date, I think you can pretty well comfortably put that in as a pretty darn good date. But it just doesn't. It just, again, it feels like the writers are trying to push this too fast on us. That well, again, this is the episode where Danny only really comes into focus, and him starting to come into focus and starting what looks like it will be a serious relationship with Clara at the same time. It just doesn't feel. I wish I could think of a better word for it. Earned. If we'd had another 2 or 3 episodes to kind of get to know Danny and understand him, and then a sort of a more serious relationship with Clara started, I think that would work a lot better. Now, and this is all just kind of exacerbated by all that stuff with Danny's descendant, Orson, who it is kind of cool that they sort of hop back to the idea that in the 22nd century, people were doing time travel experiments. But anyway, now Orson does say that he is one of his ancestors, who he refers to as a man, claimed to have been a time traveler. Well, okay, we know that Danny is going to end up becoming a companion, so that makes sense. But they also seem to be trying to drop these hints that Clara might also be his great-grandmother. Well, it seems odd that one of them would have claimed to have time traveled, but not the other, if that was the case, that both of them had time traveled. I mean, I don't think we're looking at a kind of a repeat of what happened with Donna Noble here. I mean, at least I certainly hope not. And just the fact that the way they're doing it, it just sort of feels like they're trying. If that's what they're trying to do, to hint that Danny and Clara are one set of Orson's great grandparents, then they're doing it with all the subtlety of a Mack truck going through a china shop. And I do expect better from the show than that. But I have a feeling they might be throwing us a curveball there. So, yeah. But okay, that's kind of really all I had to say on that regard. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about before we get to the big deal. And this is the whole thing with Clara encountering the young First Doctor. And oh man, this is awesome. Now, it's always been hinted for many, many years that the Doctor did not have the happiest of childhoods. And here we get to see that, that was certainly to some degree the case. I mean, we sort of assume that those two people we heard talking were his parents. It was actually mentioned back in Old Who that the Doctor had a brother. And for a long time back in the 80s, they were actually dropping quite a lot of hints that his brother was the Master, though that's never been made official. But anyway, here we get to see some of that childhood. And I like how the previews for this hinted at the boy who didn't want to become a soldier. Well, we're sort of led to believe that they're talking about Danny. But Danny became a soldier to sort of become braver, become a stronger person. And, well, it looks like he may have paid a pretty heavy price for that. The Doctor was the little boy who didn't want to become a soldier. He became something else. And this is part of, I think, this is interesting because one of the themes that we saw earlier was the Doctor having a disdain for soldiers. And well, here we see, his idea of not wanting to be a soldier as a child probably factors into that. We also see earlier when the Doctor puts young Danny to sleep, he calls it a dad trick. Now remember, the Doctor's first companion was Susan, his granddaughter. So, you don't get a granddaughter if you're not a father the first time around. And we even saw it when the 10th Doctor was talking to, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy lamented that he was a father and that he was a grandfather, and now that he wasn't any of those things, indicating that his family had been killed by the Daleks. And the 10th Doctor said to him, "I know how you feel," or something like that, indicating, that he considered all of his family dead, almost certainly considered Susan among the fallen. So, yeah, lots of really rich history of what we do know about the Doctor's past being brought to light here. I love that they mentioned the Time Lord Academy. I kind of wish they'd worked in a reference to the Pyridonian Order, which was basically the Hogwarts house at Time Lord Academy that the Doctor got sorted into. In fact, I think their color was actually red or orange. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But if you go back and watch the old Tom Baker episode, you actually get to see him wearing his uniform as a member of the Pyridonian Order in an episode, which is really cool. But anyway, I love how Clara basically recites the Doctor's creed to the young version of the first Doctor. You know, never cruel, never cowardly, and all that other stuff. Of course, the Doctor had told her that this was sort of his little motto when he became the Doctor. The 11th Doctor did. So again, a nice bit of looping there. And of course, we find out that this is the barn where John Hurt's Doctor was going to use the moment. And since this is on Gallifrey, I thought that barn or something was like on a moon near Gallifrey or something like that. But in all likelihood, this is actually probably the place where the Doctor's childhood home. It's certainly some place that he went as a kid because he felt safe there. And given that the War Doctor figured that when he used the moment that he was going to die, it made sense that he would go there as a place to sort of be at peace when his end came. So again, some really interesting stuff there, and I really do hope we learn a little bit more about the Doctor's youth in this incarnation, because it would be a nice well, one, that sort of things like that are always interesting, and two, just the idea of learning about the Doctor's youth while we're dealing with an older Doctor has some really nice flavor to it. An older Doctor, but yet also the first of a new set of Doctors. The second first Doctor in kind of a way. So let's see. Yeah, I think that covers everything that I had to say about this episode. So all in all, except for the fact that it seems like they're trying to just do too much too quickly with Danny Pink, I'd call this episode a really, really solid one. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next with Danny. And basically, I'm just really excited about this season in general. It looks like it's going to be a really good one. So, with that done, guys, as always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.